Alrighty. Let's get our setup set up here. That's a terrible angle. Terrible. Real bad angle on that one. Let's see here. There's got to be something I can do to fix this and make it look nice. Maybe this? Maybe somehow can be used? No? No, that's not going to work either. Damn it, I think I'm just going to have to not use that. Will that work? I suppose we'll see. Ultimately, the real test of it is just going through and doing it. I wish I had one of those little phone stands that just like folds out and just holds your phone passively. Because that's what I need right about now. Because I can't find a stick big enough to do the thing that I would need that stick to do. Maybe if I set this on top of the thing that I'm trying to use as a phone stand. That'll work. No, that... God damn it, bro. I wish I had the money to just go out and buy a fucking phone stand. Because this is fucking retarded. I literally cannot figure out how I'm gonna do this. Because I want to keep my cup free to access, but I also want to be able to do this. Hold on. Oh. Oh, man, I'm so fucking fat. Why don't none of these solutions work, bro? Okay, you know what? Fuck it. We are going to go on an adventure. Because I am sick to death of trying to get this fucking thing to work with solutions that just don't work. So I'm going to look in the shed that I'm sitting right next to for something that has enough fucking mass for me to lean my phone up against it. Why I have to find something with a bunch of fucking mass, I don't know. I just have a heavy phone, I guess. I just have a really heavy phone. But in here somewhere is some kind of something I can use, I'm sure. See if this works. Does that work when I try it? It certainly seems to so far. Maybe if I put it like that. Okay, nope, that's not gonna work. Fuck. Might just grab that little picture that I saw. Ow! Walking over here. Man, I'll be so glad when they invent synthetic legs. I'm sick to death of my fucking feet hurting all the time, no matter what I do. No matter what shoes I get. Doesn't matter. This thing's filthy, but whatever. Whatever. I am done looking for things. Okay. Damn it. And now my fucking phone is frozen. Okay. After an absolute barrage of stupid bullshit to just get this fucking stream to actually work, yay, we're finally here. What's up, everybody? I feel like this stream is probably going to suffer in terms of views just because I spent the first 5 fucking minutes trying to figure out how to get the fucking thing set up. Which is something I just have to get used to doing from now on, because I did not do enough experimentation on the thing I was trying to use to get to, where it was actually useful. So now I know. Now I know for the future. Hey girl, how are things? They're okay. Casey and Phoebes and Casey. Right on, right on. Anyway, how are y'all doing? Oh. What are we going to talk about today? Lots of stuff that we could talk about, but what we talk about is ultimately up to you guys. Let me make sure I'm on the right chat setting. All messages. There we go. Pizza Goblin. That username reminds me of an old friend of mine. There's my joint. Buried inside this thing. I hate these Delta 8 joints. They fall apart and they're fucking... I don't know. That's the main criticism I have of them, I guess, actually. It's the fact that they fall apart. Yo, Candle, you want to burn a little brighter there, bud? See, I'm trying to do something real quick whereby I get some of this wax to melt off and get some of it to distribute to other parts of the candle, so that way it burns bright enough for us to use as a light. There we go. Look at that. Look at all we've done. Phoebes, understand your fat ass would break through a... Huh? Bro, Casey, I feel like you've been saying the most, like fucking out-of-hand shit lately. And as endearing as your presence has been in these streams, it's about to get your fucking modship revoked. Like, like, I don't know why you think I should let you get away with saying shit that we would ban anybody else for saying out of here, but whatever. Like, I get the joke, but so I'm supposed to be making fun of you when you say one of those things. Well, you have to explain these things to me. I'm too autistic. I don't get them naturally, you see. You have to explain them directly or I miss the point. Comedic relief. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mean, I get it too. Well, in that case, obviously, if synthetic legs were created for moi, they would be thick and strong enough to withstand the rigors of carrying around a big old fat bitch all day. Me too. Me too. We're in a boat of autism, and it's up Piss Creek with a spoon as a paddle. Yeah, exactly. Although, actually, a large enough spoon would make a quite effective paddle. A large enough spoon, and you could actually paddle without ever taking your propulsive device out of the water, interestingly enough. A large enough spoon, because fluid dynamics remain fluid dynamics, whether you're talking about air or water, and the way that birds are able to get lift despite their lifting devices directly interfacing with the air as they come back up, well, it's two things. Number one, they draw their wings close to their body to bring them up, and number two, the top part of their wings, the part that faces the sky, that flaps upwards, that part is all rounded and designed to let air flow around it, whereas the bottom is designed to catch air. And so if you've applied the same principle in boating, I think you would probably find that you could get somewhere in theory with a paddle that was shaped like a spoon that you never removed from the water. You're back? What's up? No, I never started watching the UFC. I'm not into fucking, like the idea of watching a bunch of meatheads beat on each other till one of them gets brain damage is not very entertaining to me. It just is not. It doesn't hold the same sway for me that it seems to hold for some other people. But I have been watching the news developing in LA. Anybody else keeping up with that story? Because shit's getting fucking wild, y'all. Shit is getting fucking wild. Trump is literally losing his shit right now on account of these protests. He is going absolutely batshit crazy. He's going from doing regular American dictator shit to doing like, all right, this is officially crested George Bush levels. Where does it go from here? I mean, at this point, really, where does it go from here? Beginning to think that YouTube is actively suppressing anybody but the mainstream media from talking about this, because every time today that I've brought that up in that specific language, YouTube has knocked my views down by about 15, 20. So it just makes me wonder, YouTube, are you fucking deprioritizing independent media talking about the riots going on in LA? Just say you don't like sports, UFC is God's gift to Earth? Man, you must have a very boring life. If you think UFC is God's gift to Earth, it's one fucking thing to like it. But I don't think even Joe Rogan himself would say that UFC is God's Are you serious right now, bro? I don't think God. I'm sorry. I don't think Joe. Now I'm calling Joe Rogan God. Anyway, I don't think Joe Rogan himself would call UFC God's gift to fucking mankind. What's your pronouns? She, her, hers. Slap fight is so much worse than UFC. Slap fight? What is slap fight? Bitch boy, slap fight. Dustin Poirier is my Pokey Bear. What the fuck? Dude, I don't even know what's going on in my chat sometimes. All I want to do is talk some leftist theory and some leftist shit about the protests going on in LA and about Trump threatening to do this to other ICE protests. So, like, you guys realize we have like a First Amendment that protects Americans' right to peaceably assemble, right? The idea behind the First Amendment is that you can go out in public and say some crazy shit and assemble with other people and make your fucking case known. And in America, you're supposed to be able to do that. And the only way they're supposed to be able to fuck with you is if you actually start doing like violent shit. And even then, the idea is supposed to be to to arrest and remove the people who are making it less than peaceful, because I guarantee you in every single one of these protests that becomes a riot, it was a group of fucking peaceful people who were instigated into further action, usually by the police. But there have also been confirmed cases. This was happening during 2020, and I'm sure it's happening again now. There were confirmed cases in 2020 of paid fucking, what were they called? Instigators? No. Agitators? I don't think that was it. but like they were basically paid agents of the state who were like cops and military people who were literally given the directive to go into these different protest groups and black bloc and make them violent. There were pallets of bricks conveniently left in front of fucking non-active work sites in some of the in some of the protests in 2020, and I guarantee you that same kind of that same kind of shilling bullshit is going on right now in these protests. But the fact of it is, Americans have a right to gather. We have a right to fucking make our voice heard. And the idea that Trump is now threatening this against any old ICE raid should be alarming to anyone, especially if you're on the right wing. Especially, bro. Especially, dude. You don't want this precedent set. I'm just letting you know. You really do not want this precedent set. Because Republicans are not going to win the presidency forever. And the next time a Democrat is in office, if this is the precedent you set, if this is the fucking precedent you set, you better fucking hope that it's a Joe Biden. You better fucking hope that it's some juiced in fucking corporate Democrat that is actually a Republican but wears a blue tie. You better hope and fucking pray that that's the Democrat you get, because if you end up with one of the few progressives left in the Democratic Party in that office, and you establish the precedent that protests can just be broken up by virtue of the president's whim, be worried. If you're on the right wing, you should be real worried next time you want to have some kind of fascist MAGA rally, and you've set the precedent that it's okay for the president to give orders and break up any old protests that he wants to. Better be worried. But you're not going to be. People that are that fucking dumb, people that are dumb enough to get juiced in with the Republican Party in its current incarnation are not smart enough to realize how their policies can fucking fuck them up in the future. In fact, I would argue that voting Republican is predicated on the idea that you don't know and fully understand what's going to happen as a result of your policies 10 years in the future. Let me scroll up a little bit. Chaos agents, maybe actors. That's not quite what I mean either. Let me see here. That's not slap fight. That's a slap competition. Oh, okay. Hey, what it do, Ignar? What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm right wing and I support the protests and a little bit of the rioting. Weird, right? Well, I mean, it's weird if you listen to the mainstream media narrative about how politics works in America. Yeah, if I was a person that just believed everything Rachel Maddow said about politics, I would be really confused right now. I'd be looking at you like, I don't understand that. But actually, I think the conservatives should fucking support the fucking protests. You know why? Because if you're a conservative, that implies that you like the American Constitution quite a bit. The term constitutional conservative is a term. The term constitutional liberal is not, and that's because one of us is way more adherent to the idea of that document being preserved and not added to and all this other shit and interpreted strictly and all that, and the other is a little more, lackadaisical about how that sort of thing should be looked at. uh, you know um, Wants more of a modern interpretation of things, and obviously that's the side of politics I end up aligning with more often than not. But I recognize that a conservative, especially a constitutional conservative, can find a lot of reasons to support these protests, because ultimately what these protests are protesting is the massive overreach of the federal government into people's lives and into the fucking workings of American businesses. Ow! God damn it, I'm stupid. I want the fucking candle to be brighter, that's all. Is that so wrong of me? Hi, first time here. Well, what's up, a trail? A trail? That's a nice name. That's a cool name. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance for the stream to be recommended in more people's algorithms, and that's the only way the stream becomes as interesting as it possibly can be, because these are predicated on people participating in the chat. So please do that and do all the other things to engage with this channel, because it does nothing but improve your experience, and obviously it improves mine. I can't stand fingernail painting like what? I can't stand fingernail painting like Suga and Assbender. What? Is that a reference that I'm too dumb to get or something? I don't understand. Holy, first time someone pronounced that correctly, first try that I've heard. And now I don't even remember how I pronounced it. Oh no. Is it a trolley? What did I even just say? Dude, I'm such a fucking stoner. I will say some shit like that and then just be like, what? Huh? Wait. Okay, remind me how I said it, because now I'm confused. What? Pride Month is canceled. Vets, moms, dad, and presidents only get one day. Co-parter. You saying Pride Month is canceled doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean fuck or all. No viewers having convos because your topics are... You know what's funny, Chosen One? You are talking shit like a weak little bitch, but you don't even have the fortitude to put your fucking profile picture as your own face. You don't even have the fortitude to fucking unsubscribe from someone whose content you claim to dislike. You were one of the first people in here, bitch. And now you're gonna sit here and talk shit? No, you don't get to proselytize. Ban Chosen One if he says another fucking thing about his mythological Bronze Age bullshit god. Ban him. If he says one more fucking crossword to me or says one more fucking thing about God, ban his ass. I don't want to read that shit. Especially not from a shit-talking little bitch that's been subscribed to the channel for fucking weeks because they cannot fucking live without trolling me. So you can make another account. Peter Griffin, God is good. Keep on giving them to me. Keep on. You guys are doing nothing but helping push this stream out to more people. By the way, there's 104 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. I appreciate it. Jesus loves you. Yeah, but he doesn't love you enough to tell you that this method of proselytizing you do is completely fucking pointless and literally useless because it doesn't convert a single motherfucker. But good job doing what your preacher told you to do. God isn't these animal people. See? There's no hate like Christian love. There's no hate like Christian love. Nobody hates like a Christian. The God of love is worshipped by a bunch of hateful, bigoted morons. Brother, just know, oh, I'm not a brother. I'm a sister, but I get what you're saying. And I'm really just making the fucking point that proselytizing like that is a bad idea. But like the fucking thing of it is, what gets to me, right, is I will explain so in such nuanced terms, I will explain in such a calm and rational way why that type of proselytizing doesn't exist, or I'm sorry, why it doesn't help. And I can explain I can explain in the same way why God doesn't exist, in my opinion, why we can't find any evidence for him, etc. But it doesn't fucking matter. Ultimately, I think that sometimes I feel like I get to people who are pushy about their religion more by being pushy against it. I feel like a lot of people get emboldened in their fucking needless proselytizing when somebody like me is like, oh, okay, thank you, that's very sweet. When in reality, what they're trying to do is to convert you to their Bronze Age mythos that would have you dressing a certain way and donating to their church and committing your life to that cause. Sodomites cannot be saved. They hate God and they're blind to the truth through their own ignorance. Yeah. Where in the Bible does it say that? And where in the Bible does Jesus get called out for lying to people? Because what Jesus said is that none shall come to the Father except through me. What Jesus said was, well, I'll tell you what Jesus did. When Jesus came upon the adulteress that was about to be stoned for her crimes, he told those standing among the well, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And as the crowd dispersed, realizing that not a single one of them was without sin, that none of them had merely been caught in their sins, Jesus took the adulteress aside and told her that if she asks for forgiveness, she is forgiven just like anyone else is. The message of Christ is universal forgiveness if you ask it of him. So get out of here with your stupid, exclusionary, fucking 1850s view of Christianity, because it doesn't reflect the church as it exists now. It doesn't reflect modern beliefs as they exist now. And take careful note of the way I'm talking, because if you're familiar enough with Christian dogma, if you're familiar enough with ecumenical language, you know that I am not an atheist that was born an atheist. I'm not an atheist that was raised an atheist. You know, if you know enough about the Christian church, you can tell just by talking to me that I was raised in this shit. I know your Bible probably better than you do. I also know what is expected of you by your Lord and Savior, according to the book. Yeah, he said, go and sin no more. He didn't say, go and sin no more, or ye shall surely go to hell. So what gives you the right to step into Jesus's place and tell me where I'm going at the end of my life? What gives you that right? Where is it in the Bible? Where in the Bible does it tell Christians, go out and judge? Because I remember a verse that says, judge not, lest ye be judged. Anyone who's judging, ignore them. I'll tell you the reason I don't. Look at the view count right now. Do you feel judged? Well, when people say things like turn to God, yeah, I do. I feel like they're looking at me and making a commentary that they wouldn't make of someone who looks the way that they expect a person to look. If that was really universal, then they should be saying turn to God to every person they meet until they're told they're a Christian. But it's not. It's something they say to queer people. It's something they say to alternative people. It's something they say to people with dyed hair. It's not. It's a bigotry thing. It's not a religion thing. If it was a religion thing, it'd be universal. If it was really about spreading the word of God, they would spread it to more than just the people that they think of as faggots and losers. They say it to sinners, then they should be saying it to everyone. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. You deserve the turn to God speech just as much as I do. So you support all religion? I actually think humanity would be way better off without any organized religion. I think that organized religion, especially Christianity, is largely a way to keep people in control. To keep the masses breeding and working for the rich people who own and control the societies in which these religions operate. Even Satan knows the word. I haven't heard someone. You know what? I'll give you points for being. You're not being necessarily original, but I'll give you points for knowing enough about religious arguments and religious rhetoric to be able to pull out the old. Well, even the devil can recite scripture for his own purposes. I applaud you for knowing that, because most Christians don't know that. Most Christians don't even know how to respond when they encounter a person like me. You're literally the first Christian in all the arguments I've had with Christians on here. You are the first Christian to throw. Well, even Satan can quote scripture for his own purposes. I feel like the control thing is human nature, not God's. I have enough free will to know how to serve God, and not the men who try to use it to control me. I don't really. The control thing might be human nature. I don't really know. I think it's. Sorry, I had to switch over to data connection because I think my Wi-Fi is taking a shit. Anyway, when it comes to the whole human nature thing, I don't know if it's human nature or if it's rich people's fucking nature. That's what I've always wondered, right? Is it fucking rich people exploiting the societies that they live and operate in? Or is it human beings just doing what human beings do? Because I'm of the opinion that the reason why we have so many hierarchical systems, the reason why we've been under the boot of various forms of fucking slavery for throughout humanity's existence as a civilized quote-unquote species, so basically since the agricultural revolution, is because I think that very early on in our existence as modern human beings, as in Homo sapiens sapiens, I think that that instinct, I think that it was an instinct thing, and I think it kind of served us at the time. The idea being whoever's the best at getting resources, and it was also kind of, in a way, more understandable in the early days of our existence, right? In the early days of our existence, in the early days of Homo sapiens sapiens, it was completely intelligent and reasonable to look to what we would now think of as a rich person, but that wouldn't really exist in those days, for guidance, right? That's why, the chieftain is like the person most skilled at the hunt and the person most skilled at all the different things that need doing, right? And they're the one with the wise guiding kind of pathway, and the medicine men are the ones whose predictions come true and that find the good watering holes, or whatever the case may be. It was almost sort of merit based, but ultimately it was about agglomeration of resources. The people who were able to do that and the groups that were able to do that are the groups that people associated with and fell into, because living on your own in hunter-gatherer days was a pretty fucking tough existence. Human beings are a cooperative species by nature, and it's pretty hard for one of us to individuate enough to make it out in the real world by ourselves, right? And as the agricultural revolution began, and people started agglomerating into these civilizations, cities, towns, things like that, that instinct was still with us. That idea was still with us. It had been around for so long, but it began to make less and less sense, even 12,000 years ago. Even in the earliest days of human civilization, there are people complaining about how rich the king is in comparison to the people. The earliest civilizations dealt with famines wherein the royals continued to eat like fucking kings and the peasants starved. That's something that's happened all throughout history. Literally, all throughout fucking history. Phoebe, life is so much better if you don't care about politics, and just find something you like. I mean, I like all kinds of things. But the reason why I talk about politics is because it's fucking important. And because as a trans person, it affects my life. The way that people feel about political issues affects my life in a direct way. Because if shit gets fucking conservative enough in this country, that's when people like me start getting rounded up. So I feel somewhat of an obligation to talk about these things. I feel somewhat of an obligation to bring it up and make the point and make the case.
Being gay in itself isn't a sin because that is the way we are born. Committing gay acts such as man-on-man relations is a sin because those acts are reserved for procreation. That is such a strange way to look at it, but if that's how you want to think about it, that's fine. Either way, all human beings sin just as a fucking consequence of our existence. Christianity doesn't teach you that there's a way to live sin-free. Christianity teaches you to ask Jesus for forgiveness for being a dirty, low-life, rotten sinner, and to continue being a dirty, low-life, rotten sinner because you can't help it, and that's just your nature. That's what Christianity teaches. Christianity doesn't teach some perfect way of life. Christianity teaches that the only perfect person was Jesus, and that all he ever dealt with were temptations, but that he did not act on them. Judging isn't a sin. Paul teaches us to judge righteously through his letters to the churches. Yeah, and Jesus teaches us not to judge lest ye be judged. So who do you listen to? I choose Jesus. Because that's the beauty of the Bible. It can mean whatever you want it to mean. You guys realize that you're arguing using a book that means whatever you want it to mean, right? Like, for every fucking verse in the Bible, there's a contradictory verse. For every narrative presented in the Bible, there's a contradictory narrative. Not every single one, maybe, but it's such a widespread theme throughout the book. It's fucking very abundantly clear that the book is written to talk out of both sides of its mouth. Just like a fucking rich bourgeoisie ruler would, right? In the modern day. And so you see how this problem has fucking followed us through the very beginnings of Western civilization till now. The very beginnings of the very moral system that has underlaid so much, or that people have claimed to underlay so much of societal progress in the last couple of centuries, in the last 2,000 years, really. And it's all predicated on a bunch of fucking both sides of their mouth bullshit. Is the moon pink over there? I don't know, is it? No, that's just the way the camera's making it look, I think, because I've got that candlelight going, so I think it's affecting the way it looks. But no, the moon is actually kind of yellow right now. By the way, there's 91 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance for this stream to get even more popular and to reach even more people, and that does nothing but improve your experience by making it more enjoyable through making it more interesting. So please hit the button. It really does help. And if you want to make absolutely sure that I read a chat of yours, if you're worried I haven't been seeing them, if you think I've been ignoring them, I don't ignore chats, but I do miss quite a few of them because the chats go pretty quickly, and I try not to look at the chat while I'm talking because it's easier for me to focus on what I'm saying if I'm looking at something off in the distance that's not engaging with me, you know? Because if I'm looking at the chat, I can't think about what I want to say and read you guys' messages at the same time. I got a one-track mind. So if you feel like I've been ignoring your messages or I just haven't seen it, consider sending a super chat because I read every single one, no matter how disagreeable it is. As long as I can say it without violating TOS, I will. So, I love God. I've got my issues with God, not even gonna lie, but Jesus was a pretty cool fella. I thought Jesus was a pretty nice guy, pretty neat guy. You can chant magic spells in church to conjure Jesus? Dude, you can? Why didn't my church do that shit, bro? That would have been so cool. That would have been so dope. That sounds like some Catholic shit. Is that some Catholic shit? In the Gospel of John, Jesus speaks about righteous judgment. He states, "Do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment." You said you would rather listen to Jesus, so there. So let's go through. So let's have a little bit of an exegesis here, right? What does Jesus mean when he says, "Do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment"? Because I think what that means is not to assume a bunch of shit about a person without ever asking. I think what that means is not to judge based on what you appear to be, what you think appears to be happening, but rather to judge justly. And we understand justice in the modern day to mean involving due process, and due process to mean that there is an accountable process by which this person is brought to some sort of penance for what they've done wrong. What if you're wrong to demonize Trump and Elon? What do you mean, what if I'm wrong? I'm not wrong. I'm not demonizing them either. We ain't even talking about Trump and Elon right now, bro. But we can if you want to. How the fuck am I demonizing them? Trump is being a fucking fascist right now. He is being an authoritarian right now. He doubled the fucking National Guard deployment. He's deployed Marines, fucking U.S. Marines, to L.A. He's been calling the rioters animals. He's been calling the people who've been doing the protests animals, bro. Trump and Elon actually demonize themselves by being Nazis, precisely. Yeah, I can't demonize them if they're demonizing themselves every day on Truth Social, X, and every other fucking social media platform and news outlet that they can get their grubby little hands on. That's not me. As the great Voosh once said, I didn't make it that way. It is that way. The city was burning. The city was being burned down by the fucking people who live there because the fucking city is fucking cooperating with the goddamn ICE raids and shit. That's why the city's being burned down. Don't act like this fucking riot just came out of nowhere. This is what I hate about you fucking people. You want to act like there's no fucking reason behind this shit. You want to act like there's no call for this. There is. The riot is the language of the unheard. And if you haven't heard that yet, I'm sorry. But that's the fucking case. That's how history works. When the people get fed up and full on sick, and when the people get sick to death of listening to their leaders talk demurely about how they just can't do nothing, and talk about their other leaders, and listening to their other leaders talk about how they're going to send the National Guard out to a lot more protests, and how these protesters are just animals. Eventually, those people get to a point where they are sick to death of listening to these competing narratives and watching their fucking city get burned down around them in an economic sense and in a cultural sense, as people's lives are being actively destroyed by ICE, as people's jobs are just being fucking erased, as people's fucking incomes, as people's households are just getting wiped off the map and disappeared to who fucking knows where. God's great nowhere, I'm sure. You're too stubborn to even consider it. I really wish, oh my god, I really wish that maggots would learn how to fucking type. That would really be nice. If you guys could learn how to speak English, that would be cool. Like, why is it that you guys are the ones talking about how Mexicans fucking come over here not able to fucking speak the language of the country that they moved to, which I agree can be fucking annoying sometimes. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm gonna act like that shit ain't annoying sometimes. But you know what? Why the fuck is it that there are so many fucking MAGA-ass Republicans that can't quack out a fucking readable sentence that's written correctly? Like, why is that so fucking rare amongst you guys? Why is it so common amongst people on the left? Oh, somebody sent $2. Hi, what made you lose faith in Jesus? Thank you for the $1.99. I do appreciate the super chat. If anybody else wants to send one, I appreciate every single one I get, and I always read them. And I try to answer them, too, if it's something I can answer. In this case, it is. So why did I lose faith in Jesus? I really didn't lose faith in Jesus so much as I consciously chose to not believe in the ideas of hell. That was where it started for me. I was terrified of hell, and terrified to the point where it was giving me nightmares when I was 8 years old. I would dream about it almost every night. And unless you're going to sit here and tell me that 8-year-olds can be super sinful, which I think most people would disagree with, then you kind of got to contend with the fact that I like my experience with the church kind of fucked me up in a like deep and profound way. Okay, so when I learned about hell, I was probably like 6, maybe 7, but I really didn't start processing it until I was like 8 or 9. And by the time I was like 10 or 12, I was having nightmares about it all the time. It was a regular feature of my imagination. I used to write stories about what hell might be like. It was like a negative obsession for me. The fact that if I didn't live my life perfectly enough, I would end up going to a place where I would be burned in the lake of fire for all eternity, in a place where the flames never perish, and my worm dieth not. And that shit was terrifying to me. And my mom saw me crying about it one day and asked me what was wrong, and I didn't even want to tell her, but eventually she got it out of me, and she was like, "Baby, you don't have to believe in that if you don't want to." That, like, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, and I'm not a Jehovah's Witness anymore. And I don't believe in hell. I don't believe that's what happens when someone dies. I think that hell is a grave. So she preserved some of her. It's the funny thing about my mom. Maybe I'll talk to her about that next time she comes on stream, because she has came out on stream with me a couple of times. Well, one time, a couple of days ago. But maybe I'll ask that about her next time she is able to come on stream. Talk to her about her kind of like religious journey, because I've noticed that she still preserves some of the beliefs from her days as a JW when she was, when she was a kid, basically. And one of them is that she will tell you that hell is a grave. If hell exists, it's a grave. She doesn't believe in the whole 144,000 people are the only people getting into heaven narrative, but there's a couple of weird different JW inspired beliefs that, like her being an annihilationist, for example, is one of them. By the way, Christians in the chat, you better send me hearts and fucking thanks for knowing what an annihilationist is. Honestly, if I'd learned about annihilationism before I learned about atheism, who knows? Maybe I'd still be a Christian to this day. But finding out about atheism, like, because my mom did not present it that way. She was like, the way she presented it was annihilationism, but I guess I didn't take it to heart really, because I didn't, like, my parents started me out reading really young, and so by the time I was like 12, I was starting to seek out like texts that dealt with some pretty deep themes and shit. I was looking for a copy of the Silmarillion when I was 13 years old. I never did find one, but I mean, nowadays it would be super easy to get one because way more people are interested in the Tolkien mythos, and like, this was like, I would have turned 13 in like 2011, so this would have been a couple of years before the Hobbit movies, and I think the Hobbit movies are honestly just as responsible for bringing Lord of the Rings to a wider audience as the original movies were, and the original movies brought it to most of America and most of the rest of the world. Like, most people who didn't know about Lord of the Rings before the movies now know about them thanks to the movies and the Hobbit movies. You can't lose faith because faith doesn't exist. No, faith definitely exists. Faith is just an emotional response. Faith is just like a feeling. Faith is a decision. It's a mental process. But faith definitely exists. The object of many human faiths is the thing that I think I take issue with, and I think a lot of people take issue with. No matter what your spiritual beliefs are, isn't it crazy how you still need to accept your life no matter what? Almost like it doesn't matter what you believe. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think a lot of human belief systems are about getting people to that place or directing that energy towards some other thing, right? Like in the case of Christianity, it's in the case of Christianity, you said Hold on, I wonder. I'm just wondering something. If I do this, will that hold my phone? Will that fall over? Because if that won't fall over, I'm going to do that because it'll be way easier to read you guys. Because right now I feel super blind. No matter what your spiritual beliefs are, isn't it crazy how you still need to accept your life no matter what? Yeah, so Christianity... Fuck. That bloodhound still scares me. Oh, man. But I guess that's good. That's what you need a dog like that for. So, anyway. So yeah, I think Christianity channels that energy, that desire to that drive, right? That you framed it as a necessity, and I think it is, but I think a lot of people don't do it despite it being a necessity. I think it's a necessity for a well-rounded individual with a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a good head on your shoulders, basically. But I think you can live without it. I just think that you live a worse existence if you do. What's supposed to be the difference between faith and a blind belief? Christians might have an answer that's different from me. Honestly, I don't see much of a difference between them because most people will use them interchangeably. They'll just say blind faith. Like, people won't say they have blind faith in God because it's become unpopular in the modern day to say what I wish most Christians would say when the fucking proof argument comes to it. Because you know what? I can debate you all day long about how God doesn't even exist, but I way prefer poning Christians from within their fucking belief system because I'm so familiar with it. I'm so familiar with it, and I'm so familiar with their arguments. Oh my god, I just thought a fucking piece of wood was a cat. I'm insane. Anyway, I'm so familiar with their arguments that I really enjoy debating, I guess not debating, but arguing with Christians from within the Christian ideology, the kind of like Christian mindset, because I'm so familiar with it, you know. But when it comes to the matter of proof, I have a lot more respect for a Christian that says, I acknowledge that there's no like scientific proof for God. I don't think there could be such a thing. I think God defies that sort of like that's part of my belief in God is that I think he defies that um, ability to be tested, you know, and I have faith. Like maybe he doesn't exist, but I choose to believe that he does because this, that, and the other reason. I have way more respect for that Christian than I do someone who acts like they got their beliefs from reading a popular science magazine or something, you know, which obviously I know Pop Science wouldn't be publishing an article like talking like extolling the virtues of Christianity. I understand that. But the point I'm making is like some Christians will try and act like their beliefs come directly from some kind of scientific understanding of the world, and it's just ridiculous. It's just fucking ridiculous because if you take the Bible at its word, none of the fucking things we know to be true in the modern day about the world around us are true according to the Bible. And like, so something's got to give. And we find way too much oil for the science of strata dating to be inaccurate. We find way too much of that shit. As a Catholic, I can confirm we do chant magic spells and Jesus dances on the altar for us. Oh, sweet. That is actually really cool. I was hoping that something like that went on. I've always wanted to go to a Catholic church because you guys seem like you get really, like, it seems like you guys really do get on with it with the rituals and shit. And I'm the type of person I feel like if you're going to have a religious belief, why would you have a religious belief that can be satisfied merely by dressing in a pair of nice blue jeans and a nice button-down t-shirt or a nice dress and sitting down in a pew and listening to some preacher drone on for 2 hours, listening to some old ladies sing for a couple hours, and then leaving? Like, that ain't shit, bro. I mean, it's cool, it's fine, it's fun. I grew up doing that, and it's nostalgic, but it's not, if you're gonna believe in this, like, so you're telling me you got this giant fucking dude that lives in the sky. He's actually all around us all the time. He's the most powerful thing in the entire universe. He is the source of the universe. And all you gotta do to worship him is show up at a fucking metal building with air conditioning and fucking pews in it and listen to some old man drone on for 2 hours and listen to some old lady sing for a couple more hours after that? That's all you gotta do to acknowledge that dude's existence? Fuck that. If that dude exists, you should be doing some Catholic shit, right? they're the ones with all the rituals and shit. They're the one, like, if I was God, right? If I were God and I had the same superiority complex that the God of the Bible has, I would 110% prefer the Catholics over any of the other sects of religion. Maybe, possibly accepting the snake handling folks, the like Pentecostal snake handlers. Those types, they're honestly the serpent handlers. They're a close second. I think I would keep a pretty close eye on them too. But man, like, how, if you were God, how could you not be endeared by the level of ritual engaged in by Catholics? Quran talks about the coming of Christ. Don't be delusional. Does it? I never got through the entire Quran, so I don't actually know everything that it contains. I found the Quran to be honestly tedious reading. I know that's haram to say, but I found it to be entirely tedious reading. The Catholics are the ones that compose the Bible? Well, yeah. Well, dude, but don't tell that to a fucking, don't tell that to a Protestant, though. Don't tell that to a fucking Protestant, though. They'll get so mad. Be like, well, they might have come up with the first versions, man, but the King James Version is a Protestant Bible. It's like, okay, tell me another one, man. Tell me another one. Okay, so we are going on a mission, y'all. I believe I have a dream. I have a dream that someday I will live in an America where I can find a candle in my shed when I need one. And in pursuit of that dream, I shall now use my flashlight to look in my shed. And we shall see if there's a candle. Because honestly, the candle doesn't just provide it doesn't just provide light, it provides a little bit of heat too. Not much, but a little, a tiny little smidge, like a little bit, like an ounce maybe. This shed has got so much wild shit in it. There's got to be something. Ooh, there's some nice blankets there. Ooh, that would be so warm right now. Oh, precious. Blessed be. Man, this is a really bad angle. What is in my mouth? Dude, look at this old ice cream scoop. I think this is an ice cream scoop. What the fuck is this? Why the fuck is my fucking phone being fucked? Sorry, y'all. For some reason, my fucking phone decided it was going to be a piece of shit for a second. Anyway, is this an old ice cream scoop? I think this is an old ice cream scoop. Do not place in boiling water or subject to heat in excess of 140 F. Dude, what the fuck is this made of? Can someone... Okay, let me read the chat real quick. I'd like to have an actual conversation with you about some of these topics. We definitely will. I'm not dropping the conversation. We're still continuing. I just have to find a candle, hopefully. Because I want to keep sitting outside, and I want to keep talking to you guys, but I need the heat from the candle, and I need the light from the candle. But what the fuck is this made out of that you can't expose it to fucking temperatures over 140 degrees Fahrenheit? Oh my god, is this thing made of lead? Is there any chance that this old-ass ice cream scoop is made of lead? It's not heavy, like I would expect lead to be, but then again, if it's thin enough, it would be too pliable. What the fuck is this made of? I don't have all that shit, bro. Well, maybe I have some of that shit, but it would be in the house, and if I'm going to go in the house, I could just grab a candle from the house. I'm trying to find one out here, because that means I wouldn't have to go into the house. I could just do it from out here. Kind of self-evident, And I feel like there's got to be a candle up in here somewhere. Like, you're telling me in all this shit we got, there ain't a candle in here? That just sounds like bullshit. That just sounds like cat, bro.
cap. That's what it is. Okay, I don't think there's one in here. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I don't think there's one fucking in here. I think we have been bamboozled. So, I'm going to check the other shed, because we have 2 sheds. And they both have quite a bit of crazy shit in them, so lock that. Okay. Tin melts at a low temp? Ooh, I bet it's tin. Yeah, I bet it's an alloy of tin. That's cool. That's actually kind of neat. I really want to look up more information about that ice cream scoop, because it's clearly not that old. But at the same time, I don't think anybody would be selling an ice cream scoop. Maybe that's the fucking thing. That is a crazy ice cream scoop. Was it not a crazy looking ice cream, honestly? Isn't it fucking nutty looking? Isn't that shit wild? I thought it was wild. Oh man, there's so much stuff in here. There's so much stuff in here. A lot of it's my grandma's stuff, and I really don't know if she had much of an interest in candles, to be honest with you. So I may end up having to go all the way in the house just to get a damn pair. Just to get it. Why did I say a pair? I was looking at shoes. That's why I said a pair. Just to get a fucking candle. Oh, but I really don't want to. I want to do that less than anything on the planet. I just want. There's matches, but just because you find matches doesn't mean you're necessarily gonna find a. That's kind of cool. Tech sport, neat. A tin cup. It's actually kind of cool. Ooh, a box grater. That's cool. Man, that's dope. I'm going to need that at some point. I'm going to have to bring that in. Let's see here. No. None of this will work. None of this. No. Is that a candle? No, that is something else. Yeah. Man. God, if you want me to believe in you, make a candle appear somewhere in this shed for me to find in the next 2 minutes. Give me some reassurance, dear Lord. Honestly, it would be pretty funny if at this point I found one. It would be pretty fucking funny. But I really get the impression that I'm probably not going to. Like I said, I don't think my grandma was that much of a fan of candles. And I think that fuck. I don't think I'm going to find one in here. Shit. Well, shoot. Fuck. Well, I guess I better... Well, I guess I'm just going to bring you guys inside, because there are candles inside. So... Ow! God damn it, man. My fucking... God said he put candles inside. There are no candles. God is now dead. Exactly, dude. We demonstrated it live on stream for everybody. Let there be no argument. And Jesus saves. Yeah. He doesn't fucking erase your game like an idiot. He saves. Man, I'm so glad I put some oil on that door earlier. How you doing today? I am doing amazing. I will read all of you guys' chats in just 1 second. I'm sorry about that break in topic. I know that we were talking pretty good, having a fun time, and I do want to get us back to that place. So give me just a minute while I get back over here and we get situated again. Because now I've got a candle that will burn until I don't want it to burn anymore. Okay. Now, with that, I can turn my flashlight off and find my lighter. Hell yeah. Kind of worried about this thing, actually. I'm just going to like warm it up a little bit. I'm just going to warm this thing up a little bit because now that I'm doing this, I'm actually kind of like scared of it a little bit, you know? Hold on. You know what we can do? Well, no. I want to leave it in here because that'll actually be a way better container for it. But I also want to put it in there. Here, we'll put it in there. Because this container is already warm. And it's not going to give me fucking crippling anxiety. I just have to keep reminding myself, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Is there fucking plastic on this bitch? What the fuck? What in the fuck? I'm sorry, y'all. I know I said I would get to answering questions, but now I'm unwrapping a candle. Because apparently this thing still has plastic on it. And that is going to prove to be a problem. I am sure of it. Man, this shit's hard to fucking peel off here now. Yay! Our candle is now free of fucking bullshit. Yay! Now I trust this candle a lot more because it's burning in a container that's, well, a candle burner. So the only thing that worries me is that it's eventually going to run up against its own wick and probably be difficult to, you know, like this is probably going to cause me more issues than it's going to solve here in a few minutes, but we'll work with it for now. Anyway, this is insane. What exactly about this is so insane? Just hearing about crippling anxiety makes me anxious? Not me, my friend.
Guess old Lucy will finally have the chance to step up and do what he's always wanted, huh? Yeah, I guess so, right? That's the idea, isn't it? Fuck you, phone. Just do what I want. There we go. Yay! Maybe. Maybe there we go. We'll see. Yeah, I'm literally wearing a shirt right now. Dude, once again, another gender conformist that's not okay with live and let live. Another gender conformist that wants to tell me how I ought to dress, how I ought to look, how I ought to present myself. Fuck you, bitch. You go dress however you want to. If you want to look like a little Brooks Brothers fucking Bible salesman, that's on you. God made your phone stay up? He's not dead. I know, right? Just like that, we resurrected him. Dude, I'm a walking contradiction because I'm as about a fucking strong an atheist as you can be, but I also use a lot of Christian terminology and shit all the time. Were you JW at one point, or did I completely misunderstand what you were saying earlier? I wasn't raised JW, my mom was. So sorry if I didn't make that clear. But yeah, to get us back on track, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, no, I was not raised Jehovah's Witness, but I was raised by someone who was. Um, my mom was raised a Jehovah's Witness and genuinely believed in that belief system until she was about 19. My dad was raised in the same kind of Pentecostal Christianity that I grew up going to because of his mom. Um, but by the time I came around, he had uh, taken a much softer view of Christianity. He's like basically an annihilationist at this point, like a non-denominational Christian of some sort. I think I think maybe Christianity plays into some of his moral decisions and things like that, but I don't really think that it's like a primary and center focus in his life the way it is for a lot of people who come out of Pentecostal religion. Um, but I was raised by two people who were raised by kind of like weird sects of Christianity. And I think that might be part of the reason why I've got some of the views on Christianity that I do, why I kind of look at it as a religion of extremists and weirdos. Why it comes so easily to me to make fun of them, you know? Oh, yeah, no, for sure. What's up, Danielle? It's been a while. What's up? What's up? What's up? It's good to see you. Yeah, we've been doing great over here, honestly. We've been doing great. I have almost 1 million views over the lifetime of my channel, and 380,000 of those views, or something like that. So 380,000 of those views, or something like that, came in just the last month. So since I got fired from my job and started streaming more regularly and like scheduling it more, I have like trying to keep to specific times when I stream. I have done like I think they're good numbers. I don't know. Like, my channel doesn't use hardly any AI content. Like the main form of content I do on this channel now is these streams. And from what I can tell, looking at other people's lives, they seem to do pretty well. I mean, 41 viewers is not a bad number to have at fucking 2 in the morning. And earlier today, I did a stream that had 500 concurrents at one point. So it's just like crazy how that is being, like, I don't know. To me, it's reaffirming. to me, it's really reaffirming to see how the channel is growing in response to me trying to be more scheduled about the way I stream and me kind of refining the way that I engage with these streams, the way I do them, and when I do them and everything. I think I'm kind of getting in the flow of it, you know? I think I'm kind of getting okay at it. You, bro? Shut the fuck up. You would switch places with me in a fucking second if you knew 1% of the things I've done in my life. You would suck a dick to fucking be me for a second. Lick a ball sack to get on my channel. Give your life to be a solidified. This motherfucking shit is like Rambo when he's out of bullets, but what good is a fucking machine gun when it's out of ammo? I had enough of this tatted up mumble rapper. How the fucking him and I battle? He'll have to fuck him in my sandals. I'll give him my flannel because he knows as long as I'm shady, he's gonna have to live in my shadow. Exhausting, letting off on my offspring. Lick a gun barrel, bitch, get off me. You dance around it like a sombrero. We can all see it fucking salty because young Gerald's balls deep inside a Halsey. Meth? Bro, you have never met a meth head in your life. You have never met a meth head in your fucking life if you think that this is a meth body. Dude, this is a pot body, bro. Biden doesn't support gay marriage? What? Oh my god, dude. Has Biden come out against fucking gay marriage? That's fucking wild if so. That is fucking wild if so. Can people not spam chat? No, they can't. Although, since it is becoming a bit of a problem, I'll do something. Because I bet that some of the people that have been talking for a while, I bet you guys are already subscribed. So what I'm going to do is turn on... Yeah, he did. Wait, what? Like recently? Because I know he was against it back in the fucking 80s and 90s and early 2000s. But, as far as I know, he came over on that position. Has he rescinded that fucking support? Okay, there we go. That'll make things more readable, and that'll make it so that my mods can manage the chat more effectively. But yeah, did Biden come out against gay marriage recently? Because I know he didn't support it back in the fucking 90s and early 2000s, but so few people did, as far as politicians go. Thank God. I know. I'm sorry to everybody who was trying to have an actual conversation in good faith and felt like they were being stifled by all the fucking idiots in chat. This is why we have to turn on... This is why we can't have nice things, y'all. Because I have to turn on slow mode for you fuckers. Because you just can't... You can't just behave, No, Biden still supports from what I've seen. Okay, thank you, Jade. I will take your word for it. I'm assuming they're talking about Biden being anti-gay marriage in the fucking early 2000s, which I don't think is unusual. Like, that's not... Like, fucking so was... Yeah, Biden and every other Democratic politician back then. So what? Like, what's your fucking point? Like, I'm not even a Biden supporter, but, like, let's not pretend like gay marriage was some fucking issue that the Democrats had been united around for fucking 30 years or some shit. Like, there had been a couple of Dems who'd been in support of gay marriage from early on, and most of them were against it until 2015. Really, until, like, the lead up to 2015. It was like, there was like a 10-year period between 2005 and 2015 when Obergefell v. Hodges was decided, where people's opinions began to change on gay marriage. And by the time it was decided, the majority opinion was that gay marriage, like the vast majority opinion was like gay marriage needs to be legal. People need to be able to visit their fucking life partners in the hospital if they're sick. People need to be able to file jointly with the people that they live with as a fucking husband or wife. It shouldn't matter if they've got the same fucking junk downstairs. So as someone who lives in a public housing building for many years, I can assuredly tell you that fat tweakers are a thing. Not that you're tweaking, just saying fat tweakers exist. Well, they are a breed that I have not encountered yet. Do people assume that merely because I can talk fast that I'm tweaking? Because if so, there's about a million other drugs I can think of that elicit that same reaction. But I can assure you, I'm not, I'm high on nothing but fucking good old grass right now. And, like, that's, like, if anything, pot is renowned for making you talk slower. So clearly that's not the cause of it, right? I mean, I guess it could be if it was a suitable sativa. But the fact of it is, I'm just a fast talking motherfucker. I just talk like I'm on fucking 2 times slow mode. Or, I'm sorry, 2 times fast mode. That's not, it's really something I can't help all that well. I mean, I guess if I try, I can kind of slow it down. You know what I mean? But it's not natural for me. It's a very unnatural cadence for me to try and slip into. There's been a certain Canadian premier, Danielle, what? Who's, I don't think they're talking about you, Danielle, who's walked back on their previous statements in support of trans and gay people. That's shitty. I hate that. I hate it when people go from having a reasonable position to a shitty one. Dude, that's what fucking happened to Fetterman. Have y'all fucking noticed how Fetterman has become a fucking Republican in a blue tie? Like, and like, I really mean it too. Like, Fetterman has become literally just a Republican in a blue tie. Mr. Super Progressive, he represents a new wave in the Democratic Party, is now a Republican in a blue tie. Funny how that works, isn't it? Funny how they take young and impassioned leftist activism and turn it into ineffective, useless fucking politics. Oh, thank you for clarifying. I love that Danielle thought that you guys were talking about her specifically. No, you're not. I don't think you're a premier of Canada. Maybe you are. Dude, I have interacted with some fairly I've interacted with some notable people on this stream, so it wouldn't be completely out of the realm of possibility. Like, if you can't tell just by watching me, I've clearly got a completely undeserved high opinion of myself, I mean, I'm self-aware enough to be self-effacing, but clearly I'm, at least a little bit of an egotist. And I've got this fantasy that because I'm able to be so down to earth despite being that way, that one day I'll just be having a normal conversation and like the King of England will scroll through here or something. Like, not him exactly, but like some like royal or powerful person will be like, I have been listening on a sock account for many months, and I have to say, you are wonderful to listen to in the mornings. I appreciate your content. Send like a $50 super chat to say it. And I'll be like, oh, hey man, that I really appreciate that. That's super cool. It's super cool to think I'm affecting somebody in that way. But I recognize that this is mostly a fantasy of my mind's creation. I think they're talking about Danielle Smith, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I figured, but I'm super tired. I get that. Me too. I mean, I'm not super tired right this second, but I also feel tired enough to where I know that the moment I turn this off and start getting ready for bed, I'm going to be so fucking ready for it. It's going to be so nice. It's gonna, God, I love going to sleep. Y'all. Being a fucking depression patient sucks, man. Why am I so happy right now? I was fucking miserable like 2 days ago. There's a stream that I left up. I don't know why I left that up either. Maybe self accountability. I don't know. Posterity. So maybe somebody else can tell me that's a little bit smarter than I am. But I have not been able to puzzle out why I haven't deleted the stream. But for some reason, I don't want to. But it's called Bad Stream Don't Watch. And it's like 10 minutes of me moping and being miserable and super hot. Like it's just burning up and boiling fucking humid. And I'm swatting mosquitoes and I'm just like fucking overstimulated and mad and depressed. And it's a real shitty stream that never I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. I knew that it was never going to recover the fucking view count. I think it's got like 30 views now. Fucking absurd, right? And now 3 days later, fundamentally, what has changed? Well, I was able to get feed for the animals. That was a big weight off my back. But ultimately, not much else has changed. I'm 2 days closer to getting my disbursement, which I guess is good. And maybe that's part of it, because now I've only got 5 days to wait, right? Practically 4. But ultimately, I don't know why the fuck I'm so in such a good mood. And that is the puzzling thing to me about human psychology, if anything, is the fact that for no discernible reason at all, our brains can make us have a good day or a bad day. It can make a bad day turn into a good day or a good day turn into a bad day. And it really takes such an arduous level of fucking control and management to marshal that. Maybe it doesn't for other people, though. That's something I've always wondered. Like, is there anybody listening right now that doesn't feel like they have to marshal their mental strength to be able to just get through their day? Because I feel like it is an active effort for me to keep myself going on a day where I am super depressed, and to make myself feel little bits of dopamine and feel little bits of happiness as a result. And on days when I am super manic and in a happy mood and I'm just go 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 go, I find it hard to kind of like, once again, it's hard, but I manage, right? I do it because I have to, but it is kind of difficult to marshal all the different ways that my brain wants to make me go and to decide how to spend my time properly. I do think I'm starting to get better at it, but I don't know. Does anybody else struggle with that? Oh, well, yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. But on the other hand, at this point, I'll take what I can get as a queer person. Corporate pride is marketing. Oh, yeah, you guys are talking about corporate pride. Yeah, corporate pride is entirely marketing. It's literally nothing but marketing. Gianna, rainbow washing is the absolute worst. Like, yay, my rights are being taken away, but at least the Apple logo is a rainbow. Not only that, but I think that sort of, I think that corporate pride, or, corporate pride, as that other person put it, is what is her name? Pig Mercy. I like that. But yeah, Jade, I think you're 100% right, and I think Pig Mercy is right when they say the corporate pride is marketing, right? It's but that marketing, I think it's actually had a negative effect on the American people, and I think it's had a negative effect on the discourse when it comes to queer people, because it has associated queer people against our will, by the way, because now a lot of queer people are starting to realize this shit. Like every fucking year, I see and hear less about brand allied queers, because that was a fucking problem for a while. Dude, in 2020, when that shit happened for the first time and every fucking company changed its logo to a like a queer support, and I don't know if it was 2020 when that happened the first time. It might have been like 2018 or something like that. But I just remember the first time it happened, and for like 4 years after that, there was like a giant gaggle of homosexuals and transgender people like myself screaming about how it was the most wonderful thing in the fucking world, and how now they're never going to go to another coffee place but Starbucks, and fucking literally doing a bunch of these places marketing for them in the most cringe display of brand loyalty perhaps ever conceived of by an American. I get that it's sometimes weird to hear me talk about gay people like a 1950s Republican, but come on, that was hilarious. Someone is a trans woman. Like, that sentence was fucking hilarious. Even if you guys didn't laugh, I laughed. Hey, girl, we all have off days. That's 100% sure. I think the reason why I kept that stream up is because I want to look back at it in a couple of years when I'm doing better, and I want to be able to make a video about it and be like, we all have bad days, and that is no reason to give up. That is actually like you can learn from that. That's what I want to make it. That's why I want. That's why I kept that stream up. I finally fucking landed on what I think might be the reason. I think I can make that into a teaching moment. Maybe I'm not a qualified teacher. I admit that, but I think that I can, at least for like somebody that's like a creative or somebody that suffers with depression, right? I think I can make that a bit of a teaching moment where it's like sometimes you can be so fucking down in the dumps and feel like, fuck, dude, this was a fail, right? But you don't have to necessarily look at it as a fail. I look at it as I got 10 minutes into the stream, realized I wasn't being entertaining, realized I wasn't fit to perform that day, because I do consider these at least a little bit of a performance, you know what I mean? They don't always draw the fucking highest viewers. Sometimes we pop off for a while, and usually it reduces down to like 13 to 20 people, 20 to 30 people. You know, sometimes we hover around 50, but usually it's still pretty chill right around here at this, especially at this late hour. But I do still consider it a bit of a performance, at least partly, right? Like I'm certainly a little bit more elevated here than I would be if I was talking to a normal person. And if I was talking to like somebody actually sitting here, I would be spending a lot more of this time silent to listen to them talk. Whereas with you guys, I pretty much have an obligation to keep the time like you guys notice, and I'm pretty good at not letting there be a lot of fucking dead time, like dead air. That's something I try to avoid on these streams, but it involves being able to come up with a constant running line of dialogue that never ends, that can be punctuated with comments from the chat, and making it into a pseudo discussion by, responding to the chat, but also making it into an entertainment value thing by keeping a constant flow of information coming. It's almost like being an auctioneer in a way. My dad was an auctioneer, and I never really thought about it, but this is kind of a skill that employs some of the same ideas, right? The whole idea behind an auctioneer is getting a lot of shit sold in like 3 hours, right? You want to spend 3 hours and you want to sell a building worth of shit in that 3 hours. That's what an auction is. And in order to do that, you're literally going through every fucking item, getting what you can out of it, and moving on to the next one. And that involves just constant talking. You're not supposed to have any dead air in an auction, at least in an American auction. Maybe they're done differently. In fact, I know they're done differently in Britain because I watch Antiques Roadshow. In Britain, there's it's still they still use auctioneers chant in Britain, but there's a lot more dead air than there would be in America. Auctioneers chant in America is just like, I can't even do it. One of these days, my dad's going to have to sit out here with me, and I'm going to have to make him do some auctioneers chant for you guys. I'm not even going to pretend to do it because I know enough about auctioneering to know that there's specific terminology associated with the trade, specific terminology associated with auctioneers chant, and I don't know the terminology. I know some of it, you know. But even if I did an impression, it would not be nearly as fast or monotone as somebody who's practiced at it. Somebody, like, honestly, um, you know, for whatever reason, my dad was so good at that and hasn't done it in years, but he was so fucking good at it. He was one of the best auctioneers in the area that I live in when I was a kid. And listening to him do an auction was mesmerizing. Mesmerizing. Because he's a singer too, not by trade or anything, but not every man sings, but my dad does sometimes. Not much anymore, sadly, but used to. And he's able to hold a note. He's got a really good sense of pitch, and so listening to him do an auction is basically listening to. Honestly, I think he did it to a certain chord. I think it was or a certain note at least. And I'm pretty sure, listening back to my memories right now, It's hard to place because I'm not, I don't have perfect pitch, but I'm thinking he used to do his auction chant in a D note. So it was basically listening to one long droning D note punctuated by a little bit of speech every 2 minutes, right? Usually not even every 2 minutes, like every 45 seconds. God, I miss that shit. I miss that shit so much, dude. It is a fucking crying shame that my family was as poor as it was, because we should have had video cameras going. My parents had the coolest fucking dynamic because they worked together as a couple. My mom would write the tickets, my dad would call the auctions. It's occurring to me that I'm revealing enough that anybody from this area that pops into this stream could identify who I am in a fucking second. Maybe I should shut the fuck up. Anyway, well, whatever. I've already confessed every fucking secret to it anyway. Um, but that shit was cool. It was just really cool to grow up in that environment. A lot of streams I feel like I'm not on enough, Molly, to enjoy them. That's funny. I'm glad that you feel comfortable here. Honestly, I've never experimented with Molly. I don't think. I don't know. I get confused with all the different drugs. I'm pretty sure that the white powder I did in Boulder was ecstasy, which I don't think is the same thing as Molly. You're chill as fuck. I try to be. I really do try to be. I mean, you saw me going off on bigots and fucking morons earlier, but like in general, you can probably tell this is my natural state of being. I tend towards chill. You kind of have to elevate you kind of have to get my fucking blood flowing for me to really get mad and to start chewing you out, so to speak. But yeah, I try. I agree. I like how authentic and down to earth your content is. Aw, you guys are so sweet. I appreciate that. I hope you guys have subscribed and hit the bell, because you guys will be able to see more of these in the future. I do them pretty regularly. I have a stream schedule posted on my posts. I do a morning show on Mondays and Fridays, and sometimes I do a morning show outside of those days too. Like yesterday, I missed my morning show that I was going to do on Monday, so I made up with one on Tuesday. I might end up doing one tomorrow, but maybe not, because I do spontaneous streams anytime between 8 a.m. CST and 12 a.m. CST. Anytime between then, I'm, you know, apt to be streaming as not. But really, the times when you should look for my content would be uh, between like 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. on in the morning, and 9 p.m. and 11 p.m., maybe 10 to 12 at night. Sometimes the level of hate on streams is honestly traumatic. I really don't get traumatized by it, but I think that's just because ultimately I look at it in a different way, right? Like, I used to get way more, not triggered, that's not the word I would use, but like, I used to get way more bothered by the sort of comments that people leave on these streams back when I was just doing Facebook and things like that. But once I started to make content, as in doing YouTube, and especially once I started to get monetized, dude, I see them as just as valuable as anybody else that's got a perspective in here, because their existence allows me to shit on them. Their existence allows me to demonstrate the points against them. If I was just talking to other lefties in here, it would actually be kind of hard for me to engage in the argument, right? It would be kind of hard for me to demonstrate to the audience the heinousness of a conservative position on this, that, or the other thing. But because I have them in my chat sometimes, I'm able to foster those discussions. And sometimes you come up with somebody that's kind of respectful about it. It's absolutely insane what people will say on any live stream. Oh yeah, 100%. It's just the internet in general, though, dude. There are some platforms that manage it a little better than some, but fucking YouTube is not among them. You know, YouTube is one of those places where your chat can say a whole lot of crazy shit, and there's like some of it will get caught by the filters, but a shocking amount of it won't. Once we hit the 1 hour, 1.5 hour, it usually calms down because the trolls get bored and it's just people who actually enjoy the content, especially this late. Oh yeah, 100%. And that is the wonderful thing about these streams, is that they settle into a pretty nice pattern, like Jade said, around the 1 hour to 1.5 hour mark. The trolls get bored. YouTube stops pushing me super hard in the algorithm. I guess it it just thinks, oh, well, I fed her enough. She's got 50 viewers. Now, usually I end up shedding about half of those viewers because of my own stupidity or lack of planning or something like that. But hey, we usually end up with a good little crowd of like 15 to 20 people this late. And, if it's in the mornings, usually we end up the streams. The last couple of weeks, we've ended pretty much every morning stream with 50 or so people in here. So it really does help to just put I actually like how these streams work because it's like the first hour lets me get really passionate and shit and lets me get some fucking anger out, lets me get some righteous anger out, right? And lets me argue with some people and refine my arguments and get me into the space where I'm thinking about these issues. And then the last hour of the stream is where I really get to have a meaningful conversation about all the things we've been talking about so far. And I love that. I love that so much. The trolls, the trolls that are just rude and hateful, they are the ones who produce the rants that lead to the trolls that are respectful and the regular people who are respectful to ask the questions about clarifying my position or playing devil's advocate or whatever the case may be, right? But it's a very organic, self-feeding, self-sustaining system, and frankly, I'm kind of proud of myself for being able to create a community like that, being able to create an atmosphere like that. And I'm proud of you guys for helping to contribute that, and for everybody that's ever participated in a long, drawn-out discussion on the stream. I am immensely fucking thankful for you because you enable me to do this and to turn this into something that's more than a hobby for me at this point. It's a hobby and a side gig. It's something I love to do. It's the first thing I've ever done in my life besides music that is both something I love to do and something that occasionally makes money. You should be? Aw, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, but that's honestly justified. Yeah, exactly. I do say mean things to Trump streams, though. Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I say mean things to the Trump supporters that come into these streams, It's always slap a bigot day. Not many warm places left in the world. It really does warm my heart that you think of this as a warm place, and it really is, even to people who disagree with me, and but especially to people who are chill and cool, right? If you're chill and cool, we can have such a fucking good time here. You're welcome here. We can talk about anything here, and I really love that. I think it's probably the most wonderful thing about this channel. It's probably the thing I treasure most about it. And I like the fact, too, I have to admit, I like the fact that there are people who disagree with me that super chat and that engage in long, drawn-out conversations with me because it enables me to sharpen my points. It enables me to sharpen my rhetoric, to make those points, to make those arguments, to have it out with those people. And the fact that they feel comfortable enough to stick around for as long as they do, I think is a credit to the inclusive place that we've all built here, Can we talk about how the live-action Lilo and Stitch 100% has military propaganda? Does it? It wouldn't surprise me, dude. There's all kinds of subtle military propaganda in modern film, bro. All kinds of subtle military propaganda in modern film. People are always talking about how liberal fucking Hollywood movies have gotten. It's like, what? Because they show some gay people? Because there's black people in places where there used to be a white person? Bro, that ain't fucking... that is not evidence of them becoming progressive. Explain to me, if that's the fucking case, then explain to me how the fuck every fucking action movie ends up, subtly having some police worship in it, or having some subtle message of reinforcing society's norms, right? You have to look pretty fucking hard to find a subversive fucking movie in this climate. Don't even get me started on the live-action Lilo and Stitch. I'm gonna have to watch it, aren't I? It drives me crazy. Does it really? I haven't seen it. I hope it doesn't. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Lilo says twice that Nani should join the Marines. Not marine biology. What? 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 That is fucking crazy. Woke Hollywood that happens to love the police, the military, and brands. Yeah, exactly. Woke Hollywood, but it worships at the feet of every American corporation. Woke Hollywood, but so seldom does a message come out of that fucking industry that's anti-war, especially that's anti-war and anti-American military. And I mean, there, like, I'll be honest with you guys, there are even some of those war propaganda movies that I like. Fury, I love that movie. Completely propaganda. It literally, like, I mean, it's not completely propaganda. It's actually a pretty fucking apt representation of what tank warfare was like in those days. Um, I've watched some actual real life tankers talk about it, and the way they talk about it is pretty reassuring, but it's got a definite element of propaganda to it, right? And it's easy to identify if you're familiar with the idea of propaganda, right? So the Germans are portrayed as almost entirely bereft of humanity. The only two Germans there's approximately 4 Germans in that entire movie that demonstrate any fucking humanity. There's Emma and her older cousin. I can't remember her name. Efrit, I think maybe. But there's Emma and her older cousin in that apartment. There's the old man that points out there's the old man that points out where the German soldiers are in the town where they find Emma and her older cousin. And there's the German SS trooper kid that leans down, sees Logan Lerman's character, sees Machine lying under the tank, and Machine kind of puts his hands up, is like, please don't shoot. Just, he doesn't say it, but you can tell that that's the look. And the kid pretends not to see anything, right? But those are literally the only 4 Germans shown to have a lick of fucking humanity in that whole movie. Okay, that's not true. There's also the Bürgermeister in that same town. So maybe it's not as fucking unnuanced as I'm portraying it, honestly. Now that I really think about that movie, maybe it's actually fairly nuanced for a propaganda piece. I mean, the Americans are clearly made out to be the good guys, and the Germans are clearly made out to be the bad guys. Like, you know who you're supposed to root for. But at the same time, none of the American dudes in the tank, except maybe a couple, are like fully redeemable people. One of them's a fucking obnoxious Bible thumper. One of them's a fucking like just disgusting fucking obnoxious, abrasive fucking Arkansas dipshit. One of them's a convicted murderer. That'd be War Daddy. And then the only 2 good tankers in that movie that are like good all the way through, that I really find it hard to take any issue with. Well, but even then, it's not true, right? Like, I was gonna say Logan Lerman's character, but honestly, that character is a fucking like complete pussy. Which I get it, but it's the Nazis, bro. Honestly, though, that's a credit to the movie. It's a credit to the movie that the Americans in the film are shown to be flawed people, right? Now, honestly, I wish that when the Sony leaks happened, one of the things that got leaked was the Fury script, and I was really eager to watch Fury, so I read the script. I literally read the script while I was at school after I'd complete my assignments. I'd read the script, and having read the script, there's a bunch of fucking information about War Daddy's life that isn't even presented in the movie Fury, but that I think would make him like a less because honestly, if you just watch the movie, he does seem a little less flawed than he actually is. It's not made exactly clear what got him sent to the war zone or whatever, right? It's not made clear for any of them, whereas that's usually a pretty fucking like, that can be a pretty important aspect of some war movies. Do you have on a dress? No, this is this is a tank top. G.I. Joe, bro. I was 8 when I started watching that. Exactly, dude. American military propaganda is like impregnated throughout our entire society. Our society's magny with it. Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing good. I know, they can slip it in subtly, like SpongeBob. Dan, that amazing work of art. Yeah. I mean, I don't watch SpongeBob anymore, but I definitely liked it when I was a kid. And it's definitely true that they can slip in that kind of propaganda anywhere, dude. And sometimes it's so fucking subtle that you don't even pick it up until you start considering what that movie is actually saying is a good thing, right? Like there's this one movie, I can't remember what it is, but there's this one movie where the IRA, literally just the IRA, is used as a boogeyman in the movie. I can't remember what movie it is, but that movie literally like condones torture. I fucking hate watching it because I like there's a degree of violence expressed in that movie for a group that in real life is just all about Irish independence and getting the fucking British off the fucking island for once and for all. Like they've had some uncouth fucking methods, but the IRA is not known for its fucking death toll, you know? The British Army is though. But for some reason in this movie the IRA is fictionalized into this fucking crazy beast of a monster with a bunch of fucking secret sleeper cells. And there's this woman that is like tortured to death in furtherance of getting information out of her. Good night? Well, good night, Pig Mercy. Has anyone heard of the US military sponsored video games used to try and get people to enlist? Oh, yes. Not only have I heard of those, I used to have one of those. I used to have American Army. Man, this country is so fucked up, bro. Think about this. If you if you get yourself in a suitable condition to join the military, and you manage to join, you manage to get through basic training, and you get into your job, and you're able to hold it down. Let's say you keep it for fucking 4 years or 8 years or something like that. 6 years, you know. Let's say you're in there for 8 years, right? Because I don't think you can actually do 4 year stints anymore. Let's say you do it for 8 years, right? You spend your money wisely, you could come out with like $500,000 in savings and stocks and shit. And at that point, you can do anything with your life that you want to, but you have to survive 8 years of being in whatever service you're in. And you have to get through that whole 8 years to get to that point and to get like the good parts about doing it after the fact. And if you fuck up anywhere along that chain, you're no longer getting access to that, and the rest of the country has nothing to offer anybody that's not in the military but derision and hatefulness, honestly. Whether you work or don't, whether you fucking have a good job or a bad job, there is derision and hatefulness no matter where you fucking look. And the only way that it seems to be able, like the only way it seems that we allow people to get out of that is if they're in the military. And I think the only reason why that is because the American military is sent so regularly into shitty fucking situations where our soldiers don't need to be going there. They're just going there to uphold some fucking rich oil baron's fucking uh, wealthy fucking oil fields or whatever. I think I'm head to bed too now. Everybody's leaving. Jesus was a human, no more no less. Exactly. Probably a few humans, honestly. I heard about them recently from Papa Meat's vid and thought it was super interesting. Oh yeah, dude, they are definitely a thing. They're not as much a thing anymore, but it's one of the many fucking ways that the American military has attempted to get people to join up, because ultimately that is what they want more than anything else, right? War traumatizes people. They're never the same again. 100%. 100%, dude. I understand why we're so conciliatory towards veterans. I understand why we're so forgiving of them. I understand all that shit because of what you just said. Dude, being expected to fight in a war, like, because it's such a shitty position and every American knows it. Literally every American knows it. It's something we all seem to agree on, but never see any change on. So we all agree about it, but we don't agree about it enough to do anything about it. But we all know that veterans are some of the most mistreated fucking people in America because they are used needlessly, put in the line of danger, and then not taken care of when they finally do manage to survive. Not taken care of properly anyway. And it's a fucked up system because people get it would be one thing if like it would be one type of evil if it were just like compulsory and short, right? That would be one kind of evil, but it's a particular kind of evil to convince people on the back of all these benefits and all this pay, and ultimately all that comes out of it, in a lot of cases, for a lot of people, all that ends up being useful out of that service is what they do with it while they're in. Because a lot of the benefits that they can supposedly get on the outside when they get there, for some reason, that's just not, nope, we can't do it. That won't work. Nope, you're not eligible anymore, whatever the case may be. We treat our veterans like shit in this country, but we pay them pretty fucking well. And so it's a system that encourages the poorest people among us to sign up time and time again to carry red, white, and blue visions of a brighter future into death zones, to die choking up on their own blood, crying out their mother's names. Fuck you if you think that's okay. Fuck you if you think that we should allow any system that allows that to be. I have a son. I can't imagine. He's 4 months old. I can't imagine losing him to such an awful thing. Definitely hearing stories about my Vietnam veteran grandpa from before and after he fought is horrifying, and seeing how it affects him today, 100%. And every American has fucking 5 stories like that, because we all know a fucking veteran, especially from the Vietnam era, that was completely and utterly changed by their service, that will never enjoy life the way they used to, or for whom it will be an incredible fucking active effort to enjoy life as they used to fight against all the weird fucking impulses they have now. It's enraging to think of why we go to war. That's the worst part of it. I think that's why I started to choke up a little bit just then, is because all I can think is like, man, it's one thing to fucking go fight Nazis. It's one thing to go liberate people from concentration camps. It is a whole nother thing to go send people's kids off to die for Dick Cheney's fucking profits. For the fucking Bin Laden family's fucking profits. The fucking Bin Laden family. The same fuckers whose weird ass cousin flew a fucking plane, multiple planes, into fucking very important buildings of America. And the US president who was in office at the time when that happened was juiced in with the family of the dude who fucking organized the attack. And we're gonna fucking commit American troops to the purposes of securing their fucking oil reserves? Like, are you fucking for real for a second? Can you be for real for 1 second? And this is why you have to be anti-war, diplomacy first. And if you're going to go to war, like, this is why it needs to be for the right reasons. It needs to be decisive, and it needs to fucking take as little blood as possible, because there is no fucking excuse for this shit. It's like, people are always telling me, like, oh, what about the war in Ukraine? Isn't that a justified conflict? I say, you know what? I don't think it's right that Russia is invading Ukraine. And I do think that if Russia refuses, like, give them 3 more land deals that allow them to get a little bit more access, and stipulates that they have to stop their shit or else, so that Ukraine can join NATO, and they refuse that 3 more times, I'm down for us to fucking respond. But you know what I'm not down for us to do? Go murder a bunch of Russians in a long, drawn-out ground conflict. I think that we should fucking go over there with conventional bombers, and because we got the F-35, bro. A lot of people fucking shit on the F-35 Lightning II. They don't understand how it works. They don't understand what the point of it is. They don't understand why it exists. It exists to destroy things before they ever know it's there. It exists to be a fucking titan of the skies that never has to enter a dogfight because it's already jammed your radar, disabled your fucking tracking signals, and sent a missile hurtling towards you like 10 seconds before you've even fucking noticed a radar signature. So I think that if shit got that bad, fuck committing American troops to a fucking ground war. Send in America's most skilled pilots to like America's most skilled pilots and a bunch of fucking um, conventional munitions to destroy weapons plants, to just disable Russia's ability to even wage war in the West. Just completely disable it. Just be like, all right, you fucked around too long. These are the clear consequences laid out. Fuck you. And we fucking divert their nukes. If they start nuking us, we have systems to alert us of that sort of thing. And we especially would have systems going in active fucking conflict with Russia. So fucking deflect them the way you know we would. Don't respond with nuclear action. There's no reason to create a nuclear winter. It doesn't have to be mutually assured destruction. We have the technology. We can fucking blow those things up in midair in the middle of the Atlantic. Yeah, it's gonna fucking irradiate the Atlantic, but, you know, fuck. Gotta do something with it. Hell, maybe we can blow them up over fucking... Maybe we can blow them up over a specific fucking part of Europe that won't be affected too much or something. I don't know. I'm not a nuclear scientist. I don't know what the best solution for that would be. What I do know is that America's still daddy big dick when it comes to military might. And that if we really wanted to end this conflict in a warlike manner, there are ways we could go about it in a fucking second. The way we're going about it right now is just allowing people's sons and daughters to die meaningless deaths, uncounted deaths, dirty, disgusting, sad deaths at the hands of people who are just as young, inexperienced, and fucking sad to be there as they are. And that's fucking depressing. That's fucking sad. And that's not getting anybody anywhere. That's not getting anybody fucking anywhere. So either pull out and let what happens happen, or fucking change the strategy to one that at the very least preserves human life on one side. Because right now, it's two sides butchering each other. Millions of people dying. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, why the fuck is there a war being fought in Europe the same way wars were being fought in Europe in the 1940s? Like, fuck that. Either America needs to stop funding this fucking circus, or we need to fucking take control of the circus. Dick Cheney is just living on his artificial heart that replaced his original artificial heart? Oh, 100%. But I've heard he's due for another artificial heart. Your grandpa sacrificed huge parts of his life for evil people? Oh yeah, I know. The United States has more foreign military bases and nuclear weaponry than any other nation on the planet, and the U.S. military fear-mongering about the threat of nuclear war is peak cringe. America is playing chess. Fiend? What? Friend? I think you meant friend. America's playing chess, friend. Well, if we are, it's the most abhorrent fucking chess game ever played, and I'm sick to death of it. And I'm sure the Ukrainian and Russian people are sick to death of it. And I think it's about time that these leaders get shown how sick to death of it people are, whatever form that has to take. Usually protest. Friend, that's what I thought you meant. But yeah, the American military fear-mongering about nuclear warfare is 100% peak cringe, because that's 100% fucking concentrated peak cringe, because the fucking U.S. military, like you said, has way more fucking, we got way more beef than any other fucking country. Like, the next closest 10 countries can add up all of their military might and still cannot face us. People don't realize that shit. You realize how many people just don't know that? Like, look at the next 10 countries just in terms of aircraft carriers. Now, maybe that's changed since the last time I looked at the numbers, but the last time I looked at the numbers, the U.S. led the fucking world in aircraft carriers by an absurd margin. It's manufacturing consent for their own political manipulation of foreign governments. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's a way for them to get an even tighter grip on Ukraine. Is that what you're saying? It's a way for American politicians and business interests to get a tighter grip on Ukraine? Without there being mass protests? Because that's what I think. I think that this is mostly a fucking conflict that exists because the U.S. was fucking bellicose about diplomacy, and Russia wasn't all that fucking thrilled about the idea fucking either. Now, I think Russia's been way more willing to engage in diplomacy than we are, partly because I do kind of believe pro-Ukraine war people when they say that Russia, or well, Putin in particular, is the kind of dictator who would engage in an almost Hitler-esque strategy of appeasement, where he would he'll negotiate for this little chunk here, but then he's just gonna fucking start the war back up in 10 years, and then there'll be another little chunk, because that's what happened with Crimea, and now we're seeing that with the Donbass, right? So, I kind of wonder if they're not right on that. I kind of wonder if that's not maybe a pattern that's starting to develop. But I think, that's why I think the next land deal should be something that includes Russia being made under threat of fucking war, direct war with the United States, being made to leave Ukraine the fuck alone with its borders, to agree on new borders, right? And or agree on a border that allows like a free trade zone or whatever along like a 20-mile radius along the border, or along the along the sea, right, where it connects to Russia and then out to the Crimean Peninsula. They want to propagandize about how Russia is a big bully to their dear friend Ukraine. They want a reason to shit talk Russia. Oh yeah, 100%. They want propaganda. They want to propagandize about how Russia is a big bully to their dear friend Ukraine. Well, yeah, but they also want control of Ukraine. Now, part of the reason they want control of Ukraine is because I think, like honestly, I think American business interests have been fucking pissed off at Russia ever since the Bolshevik Revolution. Because since the Bolshevik Revolution, Russia has operated in a different sphere from America. Before the Bolshevik Revolution, the Russia was like the last fucking. It was like the last holdout of feudalism. It was like the last holdout of true monarchy and shit. After the fucking Bolshevik Revolution, no more. And to this day, they still have not started like operating in the same fucking sphere as America. They are still, persnickety about trade deals with America. They are still like a bug up our ass, basically. And I think America has always wanted. I think that for the last 110 years, America has desperately wanted to install one of its own leaders in Russia. I think that America wants to find some Russian person that speaks English real well, that's aligned with America, and elevate them to a position of high office in Russia and basically take that fucking country over like we've taken over a bunch of other fucking countries on this planet. Because America sees them as a threat. It's a very Kissinger way of looking at things, but you got to understand how much that dude's influence affected the way American government is done. Henry Kissinger, that is the model you need to look at if you want to see who underwrote American foreign policy, who underwrote the current state of American politics. There are two names you need to learn, and it's not Ronald Reagan and George Bush. It's not fucking Rush Limbaugh and Steven Crowder. It's fucking Leo Strauss and Henry Kissinger. Those are the two names you need if you're looking for where the fuck all this weird shit that exists as the American standard of governance now. Ukraine was absolutely fucked up by Russia, but they support the same level of violence in other regions. The U.S. does, I mean. Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. The U.S. is fucking totally fine with violence when it's in furtherance of their geopolitical goals. It's only when violence starts getting in the way of their fucking ideas for this, that, or the other thing that America really starts to take heavy issue with any sort of violence. Otherwise, we love that shit. It's in all our movies. It's in our sex. It's in the way we look at each other. Doesn't this angle make me look sexy, by the way? It's politics, but they moralize about it like they care about people in Ukraine. Well, yeah, because that's the rallying cry of the people. It's like you said, it's manufacturing consent. You don't manufacture consent by trying to present a reasonable and rational case for why we need to do this to prevent this, that, or the other thing. No, that was the Kissinger way of doing things, and there's a reason why everybody sees him as an evil prick, right? But the people who listened to Kissinger and figured out how to turn his rhetoric into what sounded like truly humanistic shit, right? Which, honestly, a lot of his rhetoric did sound pretty humanistic. But, then you realize he's also, like, one of the architects of the Vietnam War, so it's like, fuck. But, you look at politicians that took those ideas and repackaged them into their own fucking bullshit, and, you start to see how this shit happens. You start to see how manufacturing consent actually works. One of the many ways it works. And one of the many ways it works is by manipulating people's emotions, by making emotional arguments towards people when there's no rational argument, or when the rational argument would be very weak. And it's something politicians are well versed in. They kind of have to be in order to just do their jobs, right? Because, like, a big part of being a politician in America is getting the people to go along with what you want, right? Now, I don't think that's how it should be. I think that the people should be well educated enough to make their own decisions and to have an active role in their own governance, the way the founding fathers intended. But as of right now, a politician's job in America is partly rallying the fucking people to their cause. I'm super stoned. Me too, dog. You realize it's just me and you and like 4 other people listening? I like it when it's just chill, though. Politics in America is basically unhinged. Not just basically unhinged, it's completely fucking unhinged. America is the most batshit country when it comes to its politics, with the possible exception of maybe like the DPRK. I think has more absurdity in its politics. Seems like maybe some other countries come close, but when it comes to just sheer fucking absurdity. I wonder what that sound I'm hearing is. Anyway, I think when it comes to pure fucking absurdity, America's got the rest of the fucking world beat, bro. Motherfuckers here are crazier than a shithouse rat and still get elected. You can be a dumbass orange moron with a fucking bad, with a bad spray tan job and a comb over that looks like hell, and you can still get elected president, baby. Not just get elected president, but have a giant gaggle of morons to follow you around everywhere, sucking your little orange pecker. That is the definition of unhinged. If you had asked me fucking 20 years ago, well, if you'd asked me 20 years ago, I would have been 6. But if you'd asked me like 10 years ago, do you think Trump actually has a fucking chance? I would have said, hell no. What? Are you kidding? No. That's a joke candidacy if I've ever heard one, bro. Because it was around this time, 10 years ago, that Donald Trump entered the presidential race. Someone ought to commemorate it. Bro, it's been 10 years of Trumpism. Because he, I think it's kind of a demerit in his case, but he really did fucking start a movement of people. A movement of people that are dedicated to his dumb ass, but they are dedicated nonetheless. And I really don't think Trump is that dumb. I think he's pretty fucking authoritarian and fascist and evil in many ways. But I think he's country dumb. I think he knows how to play stupid for retards. And I think he's actually probably a frighteningly savvy guy. Or at least I think he probably used to be. I honestly do think that Trump is starting to lose it nowadays. He's like, I was seeing an article saying he's starting to show signs of dementia and shit. Wouldn't surprise me, but it also wouldn't surprise me if that's just a fucking article meant to distract from that book that Jake Tapper and the other bitch wrote. Dude, by the way, I saw a fucking hilarious article. I don't remember what side it was on, but it made the joke like, um, you know, the the um, the headline really should read: Jake Tapper reveals that Biden's decline was covered up by Jake Tapper. Because Jake Tapper was just as fucking responsible as anybody else in the fucking mainstream media for propping up Biden's old demented fucking puppet ass and acting like he was a serious candidate until he came on the debate stage and acted like your great grandfather, frankly. He acted like a great grandpa in the middle of America. And it, like, none of us found it endearing. We all found it alarming. And most people that voted against him. And it really was him they were voting against. That's why so many people continue to ask me, Biden or Trump in the lead up to the election. Because ultimately, in their minds, Kamala Harris was just a fucking extension of Trump. Because she was never allowed to individuate herself. She never, and she wasn't allowed to, and she didn't have the balls to say, fuck you. I don't care what you say I'm allowed to do. Your candidacy is doomed. Your candidacy is fucking toxic, Mr. Biden. And I'm not going to fucking ennoble you with 4 more years of your bullshit. Nor am I going to fucking pretend that any of your beliefs have merit by continuing them in my campaign. I will differentiate myself from you, and you will accept that, or you will either accept that and endorse me, or you will not accept it and speak out against me and see how the people react. Because I guarantee you that if Kamala had individuated, I think if she'd gotten serious, because I think a big part of why Kamala just kind of checked out during her campaign, was super fucking high and drunk the whole time, is because she knew it was a fucking losing fucking. She knew it was a losing fucking candidacy. She knew she wasn't going to be allowed to go outside of the Biden fucking playbook. And I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is a good politician. I'm not saying she's got a good heart by any means. What I am saying is that I think that Kamala Harris is enough of a chameleon to know that if she'd been allowed to differentiate herself, she could have made she could have made Obama level promises. She could have made Obama level promises, and she would have won the election last year. But she was never allowed to she was never allowed to paint her own vision of the country, and she wasn't ballsy enough to go off on her own and do it and risk losing the support of the DNC. Well, I mean, he has all that money. I knew he was winning in 2016, dude. By 2016, I started to think, this guy stands a chance. And honestly, on election night, I didn't know how it was going to go. Genuinely. Because I'd seen so much shit against Hillary Clinton. I'd seen so many people fucking cheerleading her, but I'd also seen so many people talking shit and so many people talking about how she was a bad candidate and all this other stuff. So I really didn't know how it was going to go, honestly. And then Trump won. But in 2015, no. I thought Trump was a fucking joke candidate right up until he wasn't. And I'd say he wasn't after the Republican primary. Kamala was already disliked widely at the time they nominated her. Well, yeah, 100%. Now, let me ask you this, Pig. Do you think that she could have reversed that? Because I'm of the opinion that a capable politician produces people. Okay, this is going to sound really evil and Machiavellian. Now I'm about to sound like Henry Kissinger. I think a good, skilled American politician gives people opinions without them ever knowing that they've been given an opinion on the matter. And I think that a competent politician, that's one of the things that marks them, is their ability to win people over to their side without them ever fucking realizing it. But yeah, Kamala was not primaried in a single state where she ran. She was doomed. She was never going to be a fucking presidential candidate of any seriousness unless she did some crazy fucking individuating shit in 2024. I think she could have won last year. I genuinely think she could have. I think she could have turned that ship around. I think she would have had to probably do some draconian shit at the border to turn it around. And I think she probably would have had to, do some of that fucking pro-military, pro-fucking shit that she had to do. But I also think that she would have had to come out in support of Medicare for all, like universal health care. Come out in support for fucking complete student loan forgiveness. She would have had to make some Obama-level promises on top of appealing to some of the more reasonable Trump supporters, right? And I think that if she did that, she could have built a coalition that got her into office. I think she could have turned it around. I don't think that it was that deeply ingrained in people. You know why? Because who the fuck is talking about Kamala Harris now? They hated her at the moment because they saw her as an avatar of Biden. No, she had bullshit to work with, even if she had ambitions for progress, but she's an industry girl. Yeah, I mean, that's the other fucking big problem with Kamala Harris is that I'm talking about like all these if she could, if she would, but the truth of it is, who knows if she even would have if she had the ability to. Like I said, she didn't have the balls to. Is that because she didn't, like, she literally just didn't have the courage to? She wanted to, but she just couldn't because she didn't have the balls? Or is that because she didn't want to, period? Because that's not the fucking kind of ideology she's got. And that's what I think it is. I don't think she is that progressive. I think that if she was, she would have had I think that any true progressive would have had the guts to come out and say, Biden's fucking strategy has not been working. We're going to try something new. If she had ambitions for progress, another candidate where you have to pull teeth to get them to support common sense, 100%. You're 100% right, Pig. You're 100% right on that. Kamala Harris was already hardly a progressive in either of her candidacies. I mean, she came out in support of some progressive shit in 2020, but she was still one of the several Democrats that wasn't in complete fucking support of universal health care. She had some weird fucking hybrid system that she was touting. Um, when it comes to a lot of her positions, she's not been very fucking leftist or liberal at all. And like you said, it's like pulling teeth to get common sense out of her, just to get her to agree on the basic facts of what needs to be done with the country she's helping to run is such a fucking difficult process to get to. Now, is that because she's disinterested? Is it because she's uneducated? Like, either way, I think we're looking at a bad politician, which is why she didn't win in 2024. If she would have had the balls to fucking come out and support, and even if she lied about it, she would have won. Probably. She probably would have won. But she didn't. Why? Does it matter? I don't think it does. A true progressive would be Bernie Sanders. Yeah, or someone with views like his and consistency at least somewhat rivaling his. Not in terms of years maybe, but with some years, right? Like, people talk all this crazy shit about an AOC presidency, man. I think that's fucking, fine and dandy if it happens. It'll be better than Trump, but it ain't going to be that much fucking better. It's not going to be like a complete reversal of America's fate. We need somebody who's like, honestly, we need an independent, like Bernie Sanders, was. We need someone who's a fucking homegrown independent from a rural state, just like Bernie Sanders was, that comes to the rest of America and explains why we need the things that we need, why we can't afford to wait any longer. Because honestly, I think Bernie's getting too old at this point. It's not going to shock me when I wake up one day and read about Bernie Sanders having died, because he's fucking ancient, man. He's as old as God's pubic hairs, bro. He was the devil's shoe shiner way back when. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and thank you for the person who sent the $1.99 super chat earlier. If you want to join the membership, please keep that in mind, because as soon as we get enough members to justify it, I'll start turning on members-only chats sometimes, and those will be super fun. I'll try to schedule them as well, so that way you guys can kind of plan to be there for them if you're paying for the membership. They're not that expensive either, and once I do start producing more long-form content, you guys will get a first access kind of look at all that stuff. So with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys a lot. And good night, and thanks for the chat, like you said. Thank you. Oh, Jesus. That didn't work.